to the Midstate 48 powered by Miracle Auto Group. This is the final installment of our preview week shows. If you've been following us the entire week, we've gone through all of Division 1 so far in our area. Now it's time to hit Division 2. So let's bring in everybody else to get us started. Cam Reed, Scott Burton, and Joe Spears. Guys, welcome in. Let's get this party started and finished for this week.
Let's do it.
Well, let's go ahead and just dive right in. Division 2 has been largely Middle Tennessee dominated for the last few years, with a few exceptions here and there. And in AAA last year, it was NBA kind of gave a state title away with some late mistakes, and probably should have brought one back. But Single A and Double A have been Midstate dominated the last few years as far as gold balls are concerned. Guys, how do you think this thing turns out this year? Do we see more of the same?
Yes. Even so, I wouldn't be too far away from saying chances of bringing 3 back to the Midstate are very, very good.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think that there's a lot of talent that is here in the Midstate. There's a lot of talent that has arrived here in the Midstate, or at least moved around a bit. And I think that a lot of that leads to some very, very interesting matchups and some really good football.
I think 2 for 2 probably, and the 3 is a toss-up just because of the area that's dominated the certain D2 AAA the last couple of years. They're still going to be really good. We'll get to that in a bit, but I think you look at D2, Single A, and Double A. I think a Middle Tennessee team will bring it home this year.
Let's start with Single A, because Friendship Christian won it last year. The year before was DCA. Nashville Christian, could it be their turn this year? It seems like that they're looking like the overwhelming favorite here.
Yeah, they're returning 6 players on offense, including Jared Curtis, a highly touted quarterback, 5 on defense. A lot of talent on this team. I think that they've Jeff Brothers always has good special teams, always has really good quality players and really good discipline for his team. And I think that this year they would probably be the team to beat.
I would agree. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Friendship Christian losing the quarterback in Garrett Weekly. Brock Montgomery is now transferred to Riverdale. I think Friendship will have a good year this year, but overall talent, Nashville Christian, they bring back a lot, but they also bring back one of probably the best players in the entire state, regardless of class, and Jared Curtis. There's a reason schools like Alabama and Georgia and all these others have offered him already, and he's going into a sophomore year. The arm talent is next level. He got a taste of what state championship football feels like. Not only that, he didn't win it. He lost. He's going to be on a mission. Nashville Christian, top of D2A, in my opinion. Yeah,
I agree. I actually had a chance to see Nashville Christian last week in a scrimmage at Pope John Paul II. Jared Curtis is as advertised, guys. He's probably the second, if he's not second, he's definitely third as the best quarterback in the Midstate area. And doing that as a sophomore is crazy to think about. But 2 guys that really stood out to me was Braylon Toll, going to wear number 3, play wide receiver and free safety for the Eagles. Really good leader, very vocal during the scrimmage. And then a guy that is really surprised me was Bryson Holt, another sophomore, number 21. That dude can absolutely fly. He took a screen pass, 75 yards, split to safeties. I mean, he looked like CJ2K, looked like Chris Johnson out there splitting safeties. So definitely think Bryson Holt is a name that will be recognized this year in 1A, but definitely like the Eagles as the preseason favorite.
I'm wondering, guys, and Chris, we've talked a lot about Nashville Christian. How do you feel about it?
Well, I know I'm going to get to see them firsthand in our preseason showcase jamboree at Oakland. I'm feeling like it's a pretty strong group that's on a mission, and you go into a state championship game and lose like they did, and when you have as much coming back as they do, there's going to be on the warpath, and I think teams that stand in their way are going to find out what this Nashville Christian team is about pretty early on. Jared Curtis, yeah, Cam said it, he's the real deal, and not just the arm talent, but the mobility as well. He can get out there and make plays with his legs. It doesn't have to be forcing throws, and he learned a little bit in that state championship game too about some mistakes that he made and how to correct those and not make them again moving forward. And that's a dangerous combination. They keep him healthy, they're going to be trouble for anybody that stands in their way. Who else could we be talking about in Division II single A? With Nashville Christian being the overwhelming favorite, who's number 2?
For me, I look at MTCS. You got Eli Wilson coming back, Jesse Perry, a Tennessee commit. He committed a few months ago on the offensive line. Eli really had a huge year last year, put up a ton of numbers. They're going to lean on him a lot. And just, this program's kind of taken that next step up. They were right behind Friendship for most of the year last year. They gave them actually a really tough game at Friendship near the end of the season. So for me, I look at the Cougars. I think they're going to have a big season and kind of be that step behind Nashville Christian.
Yeah, I agree. But it's close for me. Eli Wilson, great running back. The Perry guy is probably the best offensive lineman in D2 1A. But I look at DCA. Yeah, they lose Ashton Jones, but they return Kerry, the quarterback. They got better last year. They started their season with a couple disappointing losses, but by the end of the year, they were a tough out. I definitely like what DCA is doing, and I think that they compete with Middle Tennessee Christian maybe as the second best team in our area.
Well, here's where I'm going to deviate. I'm not ready to kick dirt over Friendship Christian quite yet. Seeing them the other night, they looks like their quarterback, Luke Sellers, who's a sophomore, is absolutely putting the ball where it needs to be. He really does remind me of Garrett Weekly in the way he can command the offense. And Tyson Walcott's still there, and he running with a band and playing, sticking his head in there. And the most impressive thing was that he's out there coaching the other players. He is that smart. He is a coach on the field, and you can see him coaching up players. I fully believe this kid, if he decides to go into coaching, it's going to be a natural fit for him. They have a freshman that is 6'4", and I think he's pushing 250, 260, maybe more on the line. They've still got size. I think that Friendship Christian very well may be by the end of the season they could be back in the Blue Cross Bowl.
Well, we've talked about that kind of core group of 4 teams. Is there anybody else outside that 4 that might be able to make some noise, or are we really talking about potentially 4 semifinalists here?
I don't believe so. When you look at the rest of those regions in the East and Middle, in our area, Ezo Harding is, their second year back in 11-man football, so they're still trying to build up. Providence Christian in their first year in our area over in Murfreesboro. Columbia Academy, a rebuilding program. Grace Christian, Franklin, had a good start to the year and then fell off last year. Clarksville Academy loses Mr. Do Everything, DJ Merriweather, so they're got to replace him, but new coach over there at Clarksville Academy, so excited about to see what he can do. And then, of course, you have Matt Gillett Christian and Dan Davis, and hoping that he can get the Knights headed back in the right direction.
I think if anybody is going to compete from a team in our area in D2A, you got to look west. USJ is always a team that seems to make a run. I know they had a coaching change. TCA out in Jackson, they have a lot of weapons that put up some numbers last year. If they can figure it out, I think they'll they'll be in the mix. But for me, I think if there's a team not from Middle Tennessee that's going to win D2A, I look at Jackson Christian. A lot of returners on that team. They have a really talented, just kind of do-it-all guy in Jalen Mosley that's getting looked at by the likes of Tennessee and Ole Miss and stuff like that, in schools like that. So, honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if a Jackson Christian made it to the state title, and played a team like Nashville Christian. Personally, I think that would be a really fun matchup, but I still would pick Nashville Christian.
I tend to agree with you. I think Jackson Christian, looking outside of those four, is probably the next one that makes sense. I think that they should win the West region fairly handily. But I do want to make a case for, okay, let's say that those four are the four, but at any one time, some of these other teams could trip them up. They could actually create some havoc. And I think one of those teams is Ezell Harding. I think Ezell Harding, they're getting better. I think Coach Corey Stewart has this team. Believe it, I was out there at practice. These kids he had to run them off the field. They were staying after getting reps. They were out there working. The kicker was out there with the long snapper. I mean, it was 90-something degrees. I was melting like Frosty, and those kids were still out there, and he had to run them off. I think that Corey Stewart really has that program on the right track, and I think that if you ignore them, they may just bite you.
All right. Well, let's take a slight pause here for just a moment to mention our sponsors who are making this possible for the season. Miracle Auto Group up there in Gallatin. Make sure and go by and see them. They've been great to us. They're great to us personally and professionally. And Tim and Jim Galvin, always do great work up there. All good people up there in Gallatin, helping make this possible for us for the second year in a row. They're sponsoring this show and Player of the Week awards, and they're also on board with the preseason showcase that'll be going down this Friday night in East Robertson and at Oakland. So, come on, let's out see some good football for the final tune-up before the regular season, and go by and check out the people at Miracle Auto Group as well. But we are going to have some merchandise at both sites. We've got T-shirts made up. I know Scott is reaching for some of those, and give you an idea of what those look like.
Can you see them?
There we go.
Yeah, barely.
Okay. Barely?
Yeah,
there we go.
You go. That's it.
Okay. You want me to just leave it up like this the rest of the show?
There you go. You can do that. Yeah. Try to talk from behind those. That'll be good.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Also want to thank our other sponsors, Middle Tennessee Electric, Python Light Sets, and Erie Insurance for their contributions as well.
Let me tell you, I'm going to be at Miracle Ford on Friday. Okay. And the reason I'm going to be at Miracle Ford on Friday is because their service is like top notch. I love my Miracle Ford EcoSport. Trust me, you guys have seen it. I've driven it everywhere. Go out there and see those guys. They will take care of you.
Can confirm he does drive it everywhere. It's not a joke there. But yeah, definitely want to thank Miracle Auto Group for all the contributions and helping us make this possible this year. Let's talk Division II Class AA. Now, our only region in this class is the middle region, but it hosts all the weight pretty much when you talk about CPA. And departing Lipscomb Academy, we'll talk about them in AAA in a bit, but Lipscomb Academy's gone, Pope Prep comes in, and the middle region kind of has a little bit different feel without the Mustangs this year. So CPA's been in the championship game, I believe, the last 4 years, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it's 4. Are we looking at 5, and does it end in a gold ball for the Lions this time?
Good luck to everybody else in D2AA. That's what I have to say. On a warpath. The last 2 years, they've been knocked out by Lipscomb, and I think they've been shut out in both games. They bring back a ton. I think if you were looking for a challenger to CPA, you got to look at FRA. They've won that regular season matchup last year. It was a really exciting game. They get Ty Clark back. They bring back a lot of guys, and that's a really good team. But for me, CPA, you start with Andre Evans, LSU cornerback commit, really, really top-notch cornerback. Then you look at Cruz Law, Mr. Do-It-Everything for him. And then on the line, John Wayne Oliver, an Ole Miss commit. I mean, they have guys everywhere. They have Braden Streeter back at quarterback. He's a lot more experienced. He's looked good here in the preseason. So I think CPA is the heavy favorite in D2 AA. But I think FRA could really give them a run when they play, especially if Ty Clark has a big year like I think we're all expecting him to.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely those two are the culprits. But I believe the gap between CPA and FRA is actually a little bit bigger than the gap between FRA and the team that I have to finish third, and that is Davidson Academy and Coach Quinn's team. Really love the talent that they have coming back. Similar to CPA, they have a lineman that is a SEC commit. They have a skill player that's going to go play D1 football. They have a quarterback that is pretty good. But the question to me in this region, in our area, is which one of the traditionalists can get back to what they historically do, and that is Pope Prep, Good Pasture, and BGA. Which one of those three can make the step forward and start building back to playing for state titles like they used to?
Yeah, that's a good question, Cam. I'm really curious to see what Pope Prep can do. Losing so much talent going in. I agree with you. I think that CPA has to be considered the favorite just because of everybody they're bringing back. Their offensive line is tremendous and it's got experience. Cruz Law is a beast. I think that right now they're standing near the top. It's going to be, can they get knocked off of that pinnacle by FRA? And FRA has eight players coming back on offense, including Ty Clark. I think that they really do stand a chance. I think that's going to be a key game that's going to tell a lot about how this season goes, and could decide the championship early. But I do like Jonathan Quinn's team. They're the smallest school in AA, and I think that they're going to come back this year. Finally, it hasn't been that long since they raised the gold ball. I think that they have that capacity to come back. Knox Roberts coming back at quarterback, looking good. Glenn Seabrooks, but I tell you, a surprise team. I think, to answer Cam's question, Good Pasture will be one of the ones to step up this year. This year, they have more players than they've ever had. Coach Cotton than they've had in a long time. Coach Cotton is absolutely thrilled with the kids that are coming out there. They had a great practice when we were out there. I think that is a program that will turn around more sooner than later.
Real quick note back on that CPA FRA game. I remember FRA went into CPA and beat the Lions last year, and that's going to be a great matchup. I think if I'm not mistaken, that's week 10 this year when they tangle again at CPA. So definitely one to watch on your calendars for late this season.
I think Pope is the team I'm really looking at in this region. I know, they lost a lot. Kenny Minchie's gone. They lost quite a few pieces, but if we really look back, Kenny Minchie only played in 3 games for them last year. This is a team that had to learn how to play without a future Notre Dame quarterback, and Minchie in a really tough region. I think after Minchie got hurt, they went down to Baylor. That was the first game without Kenny. They bring back a couple guys, notably for me, Elijah Robb. I mean, that offense is going to run through him. I know he was banged up a bit last year, but I fully expect him to have a big year, and I think they're going to be right in the mix. Moving down from D2 AAA to AA. I'm kind of excited to see what the Knights do this year, having moved down a class.
It's definitely going to be a fun region. I think that, I don't think that. I think unlike some of the other regions like Class A, where we all feel like Nashville Christian is leaps and bounds ahead. CPA, I think the gap is a little bit narrower than the to the Hounds that are nipping at their heels.
Yeah, fun is the word for this region. I actually think that this region has the chance to be really offensive driven. I look for a lot of points out of this region, a lot of shootouts, especially with a team like Davidson Academy that's really good on offense, a team like CPA that has all the weapons that they do, and then Ty Clark is going to get his regardless. So definitely think that could be a lot of points. But it's funny that Joe mentioned Elijah Robb. For those that have not seen Elijah Robb, he would play guard for pretty much any team below Class 4A. He's not quite as tall as Derrick Henry, but think Derrick Henry is big. Like, he is a big, stout running back. One of those that you just assume when he gets the ball, he's going to get 3 or 4 yards.
And he catches the ball well in space, too.
He does. Very shifty as well, too.
And let's not forget that this region, this middle region, even with Lipscomb Academy, was in it, I think a couple of years ago, had 3 of the 4 semifinalists in D2AA. So, certainly we could see that again. I got to ask this question, though, because Gary Rankin going into a second year at Boyd Buchanan, are the Buccaneers a factor from outside our area this year? What do you guys think?
I don't think you can count them out. Any team coached by Gary Rankin, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of how quick can he get there, and it could be this year.
Yeah, and they made some tremendous strides last year. I mean, they had a great team and great season. He's the GOAT of high school football in this state. There's a reason why Alcoa and Riverdale, everywhere he's gone, he's won. I think if there's somebody, I mean, it could be Boyd. We don't know what they have coming back, but it's Gary Rankin. He'll have those guys ready.
Yep.
I kind of look, if you're looking outside of that, Boyd Buchanan, but I also think Chattanooga Christian has a good shot of making some noise in this class.
All right, let's shift gears and talk about AAA, because this East region in AAA, might be, I'd say it is the hardest region in the state, bar none.
No.
This region might be able to beat the AFC South.
Well, I was going to say that it looks like an SEC team if you take the best players from each team.
I would absolutely take it against the NFC South right now and not look back. I mean, the list is staggering. Baylor, Brentwood Academy, Knoxville Catholic, who has to face Knoxville Catholic, probably has the hardest schedule statewide this year, because they have to face all 5 of these 2 teams.
So I'm just sitting here thinking, and just in that East region, those 6 teams, there's probably more stars in those 6 teams than on the flag.
Absolutely. I'm sitting here looking at it, and I'm just sitting there trying to count how many future NFL players are on those teams.
Yeah. Baylor, BA, Knoxville Catholic, Lipscomb Academy, Macaulay, and NBA. I mean,
yeah.
And guys, I'm telling you, if you have a chance, come late in the season or in November, these playoff games are going to be must-watch TV. Must-watch games. And I say TV because they'll probably be on television. They'll probably be my TV 30 games.
But if they're not, you can probably catch the highlights here.
Yes.
Well done, Scott. Well done.
Had to earn my paycheck.
It'll be in the mail.
Yeah.
Okay, so with the East as loaded as it is, let's save it for a minute. Let's start in the West. Father Ryan goes from East to West, and is probably thanking its lucky stars it did, because the way this East region is setting up. They'll have Ainsworth, Briarcrest, Christian Brothers, and MUS in that group. All right, let's break down the West for a minute. Who have you guys got, first and second out of this group?
I've got Ainsworth and Father Ryan. You look at Ainsworth, I know they lose the guy Shamar Porter, Levi Moore was the quarterback's name. They still have a ton of guys. I think they're in a really good spot to come out on top. I know after talking with Ethan Nutley I think it was last week, they're hungry. They know they didn't have a great season last year. They know that there were they left a lot of points on the field, and defensively, I know he's really wanting to kind of stand out. That's a guy you talk about potentially future NFL player. Ethan Nutley's up there. I mean, he's huge, massive defensive lineman. He thinks he's in for a big year. I agree with him. But then you look at Father Ryan, JoJo Crump starting to pick up some offers. He's looking good. Charlie Becker, the IU wide receiver commit, in my opinion, one of my favorite players to watch. He's 7-on-7 and scrimmage king. In the game I saw him last year against Pope, after the rain delay, he really dominated in that game. He scored a few times. So I think Innsworth, Father Ryan are in for big years. They're on the right side of this region to go out and make some noise.
Yeah, I agree. That's exactly the way that I have it. Is Innsworth is the one. I believe that gap is decent but not huge between Innsworth and the rest. And then Father Ryan and a team like MUS and even Christian Brothers, for instance, I think all of them are really close together. But I really like Father Ryan and what JoJo Crump brings to the table as a dual threat quarterback, a guy that put up some gaudy numbers last year in games when he could stay healthy. Definitely like Father Ryan. We talked about Franklin in our 6A show being winless and maybe being the best winless team in the country. And Father Ryan only won 2 games last year, but they put up a lot of points, a lot of points. I look for the Irish to have a better year.
I actually will go against grain here. I actually like Father Ryan to win the West region, actually. I think that Coach Rector has put together a really good team, really solid team. I think that bringing in Chad Broderick at the DC, it actually is going to give that team a little bit of a boost that they didn't have before on the defensive side. I really like this team, but I don't think it's a runaway. I think Innsworth is right there. It's just it depends on how quickly they get out of the box as far as Innsworth is concerned. I think that Innsworth is a stout team, and I think at the end of the day, both of these teams are going to be up there.
Well, I get the privilege of seeing both Innsworth and Father Ryan at back-to-back weeks because I'll be covering BA and Father Ryan week 4, and then Innsworth and Lipscomb Academy week 5. So have a pretty good idea of how those two teams might shake out before the midway point of the season. That's going to be an interesting way to go through the first 5 weeks.
All right. It's good. It's good to know the guy that makes the schedule, I guess.
Yeah, it has perks. It does have its perks. And living not too far from Father Ryan doesn't hurt either. So there's that. But I digress. Let's talk about that East region, the juggernaut of the state, and BA coming inches away from getting to the state championship game last year. Some people say that they should have gotten there anyway, but we can talk about that controversial call ad nauseum, really. Baylor, BA, Lipscomb Academy, Macaulay, MBA, Fort Knoxville Catholic. Unfortunately, he's going to have to face all 5 of them, and I wish him the best of luck. All right, give me an idea. Give me one team that you think has the best shot at winning this region. Joe, we'll start with you.
So till you knock them off, Baylor. I look at just kind of what Baylor brings back. They have, in my opinion, I think Amari Jefferson might be the top guy in the state when it comes to the 2024 class. You just look at, he's electric, and it's he can do everything. They have a really good quarterback in Whit Muschamp, the Vanderbilt, that really showed out, and especially in the state championship game, he was electric. Also, they have the luxury of hosting Lipscomb Academy this year. Lipscomb Academy is going to have to go down there after a really brutal start to the season where they play IMG. They have to go down to Mobile to play a Saraland team that has a couple of Power 5 commits already they're only juniors. So get a break in the middle there where I think they could beat a Briarcrest team that's rebuilding. But then they go down to Baylor. I mean, that's brutal. That's a brutal start to the year. And if anybody, I know Lipscomb's getting a new quarterback, a really good quarterback in Deuce Knight. For me, it's Baylor and Brentwood Academy at the top. The Eagles really tested Baylor last year in that semi-state game, and like you said, you could argue they're there. I think George McIntyre has somehow taken strides and gotten better over the summer. I think he's the best quarterback in the state, regardless of class. And those are my top two, and I got Lipscomb there at the 3.
Yeah, I mean, it's so close. I went the route of picking a different team to win the region and a team out of that region winning state, but not the same team. That's how close I believe that it will be. Ultimately, in the region, I picked Lipscomb Academy, and I did so because when I looked at all three teams, when I looked at Lipscomb Academy and I looked at Baylor and I looked at BA, I felt like Lipscomb soundedly had the best defense, and defense wins championships. And in this case, I think that defense, especially Caleb Beasley, I think Caleb Beasley, Amari Jefferson matchup is going to be must see. And then Edwin Spillman getting after George McIntyre. If he can get home, George is not very big. Can George hold up is going to be the question there. I lean Lipscomb, but man, it's so close.
Well, I'm going to differ from both of you. I'm going Brentwood Academy. I think that they've got George McIntyre some new weapons. This is a kid who threw for 2,300 yards, 19 touchdowns. He's only going to get better now. He's got T.T. Hill and Easton Jointer to join him. So I think that teams are going to have a hard time stopping them from scoring. I think their defense is very, very good. I think that this team will just continue to get better and continue to grow. It's really going to be fun because, you can make a case for any of these teams.
Well, we're about at that time of the show that I'm going to put it on you guys to do just that. Give me a state champion, give me a finalist.
Brentwood Academy over Baylor. I think for me, Baylor wins out in the regular season. They host all but 2 games, and one of them's McCallie. Brentwood Academy gets their revenge, though. I think finally the drought of, Chattanooga's dominated the last 4 or 5 years. Give me Brentwood Academy.
I'm going to say the same thing. I'm riding and dying with the Eagles.
I'm going to go Baylor over Brentwood Academy, and I did that because they play at home essentially, and that goes a long way. That's part of some issues that Tito Soleil still needs to fix, and move the state championship games back to a neutral, centralized site. I know BA or Lipscomb will be playing at home if the games were at Vandy, essentially, but still, that's more centralized. If one of these teams, if Christian Brothers makes it, they have to drive from Memphis to Chattanooga. I mean, ranting a little bit, but that's ultimately the reason why I picked Baylor, was because they pretty much play at home.
I'm going to
go ahead, Chris.
No, go ahead, Scott. You're good.
No, all I was saying is, and this is off topic. But it's been so long since we haven't mentioned Montgomery Bell Academy in this conversation. I guess it's just the unknown because they graduated just so much.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't really think they're the 4. I think you got to look at McCallie with the quarterback and Carson Gentle that's going to Tennessee, and a couple of other high D1 prospects. I mean, McCallie, I have them as the 4, but it's not out of the question that they upset one of those top 3.
Yeah, right, I mean, NBA at 5 is still could be a dangerous 5 if they find their identity quickly enough and get themselves in a right matchup in the playoffs. I mean, you just never know. That's why I think this East region is just so loaded, because 1 through 5, dangerous teams.
Yeah, I think if NBA was in the West, I think we're talking Ensworth NBA and a slugfest.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see how Ensworth and Father Ryan navigate the postseason, because they're going to be seeing several of those teams. But ultimately, I landed on BA over Baylor in the championship as well. I just think the revenge factor is going to be there. They felt slighted after last year, and for good reason. And I think they get the revenge and that gold ball in 2023.
Yeah, and for any Knox Catholic folks that if they do happen to see this, think about the positive, guys. You're in the playoffs.
Let me ask you a question, and this is an honest question.
Yep.
You've got Baylor state champion, right?
Yes.
You've got Lipscomb state champion, right?
No, I have Lipscomb as the region champ.
No. Last year.
Yes. Yeah.
Defending state champion.
Possibility they face off.
Yeah.
There is. Has
that happened before?
Yeah.
Okay.
There is an unpredictability about this region that's certainly within the realm of possibility that we could see that happen. It just depends on how they fall seeding wise and how those matchups in the first round play out.
It just seems that would be an interesting little nugget there if they were.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm just going to be honest, and this is part of the reason why I had Baylor going to the state championship game. The 2 spot may be where you want to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because the 1 and the 3 have to play each other in semis.
Yep.
Here's how Knox Catholic's final 4 games go. At Brentwood Academy, they host Lipscomb Academy, they host McCallie, and then they're at Baylor.
It's a murderer's row, but boy, if they could somehow pull that run off,
they better be eating some Wheaties.
They will grow up quickly in October.
Wow.
Yep.
There will be no pumpkin spice lattes being consumed in October. It's going to be a lot of meat, a lot of Wheaties.
Thanks, TSSAA.
Yeah, right. Exactly. They made the schedule, and that's how it just worked out for them. But I think we're all kind of in agreement about the 2 teams in the finals, and mostly in agreement about how it will play out. But they're just picks. We don't know. I mean, for all we know,
not a slide at Lipscomb. They could be there too.
Not at all. Yeah, Lipscomb.
Right.
It could be a Lipscomb Ensworth championship game. Who knows?
It could be.
That's what's going to make AAA really intriguing to watch this year. Is all the possibilities with these teams. I mean, it's the top class in Tennessee high school football for a reason, and it's going to prove it. So it'll be fun to check it out.
So much talent.
That's why the cat beat me at who you got last year.
Yes. We haven't mentioned Reggie in his preview.
Where is Reggie?
And he's coming back for another shot at you, Scott.
Yeah, I know. Well, if he wants his special,
he's going through training camp right now.
Yeah,
he's going through training camp right now. He's resting, so
probably
that's all the damage that we can do for preview week. For Scott and Reggie, for Cam, for Joe, I'm Chris. We're out. We'll see you guys on Friday, and we'll get you ready for week 1 next week.